This is the Baseline Facetime podcast, and we've got another great episode coming at you right now. Let's go. All right, what is up, everybody? We are back with episode 19 of the Baseline Facetime podcast, special edition, NBA Finals preview edition. I'm excited. We've got a cool episode. We've got a special guest, actually, in my brother, Zach Van Camp. Zach, go ahead and say hi to the people.
Hey, what's up, baseliners?
Baseliners. You're a baseliner. You've been tuning into some of our episodes, I know. What's your take on what we're doing? What do you like?
I like it a lot. I like the fact that you started at like the most inopportune time and made it work. They're just looking for something to do, something to talk about. There were no games currently when you started this, and it's carried well and transitioned into when they started the games back up. And I like what you're doing. It's entertaining. I listen every week. I like the special guests that you have every now and then, and thanks for allowing me to be a special guest as well.
You got it. Of course. It's a lot. You're right. It's become a lot easier when we've had games to actually talk about, and obviously a unique situation with the NBA bubble and all of that. So I know you've been keeping up with the NBA. There's been some good games.
Yeah. I really enjoyed like the 8 play-in games, if that's what you want to call it. Down to what Grizzlies and Blazers for that 8 seed, and just everything about it. I love the environment that the NBA and I guess Disney, ESPN, Wide World of Sports set up. The interactive screens and everything. It just looks like a well thought out, well put together thing, and it's worked out well. There has been 0 positive tests. Same thing with the NHL bubble, and that just seems to be working the best. I mean, who knows if we're gonna ever have fans again, or if they're gonna have to do these bubble environments from now on. I know the MLB is going to do that here soon. That's right. The NFL is not. So it's to drop everything and then start back up with what all these leagues have done has been pretty incredible.
It really has been. I think perhaps even what you're touching on with the NBA, just doing a great job there. It has been incredible. I think even of all the major sports, they might have done the best job. I don't know. I haven't kept up too much with the NHL, and obviously we know what the NFL is doing with that season underway, and the baseball playoffs starting today. Do you know what exactly that looks like for the MLB?
Well, there's 16 teams, so 8 from the AL, 8 from the NL. And there's a 3-game, I guess you could say it's a play-in series where they play at the higher seeds home stadium. And, after that, they transition to, the normal, best of 5, best of 7 series with 1 bubble in San Diego and 1 bubble in Texas. I think it's Arlington. So the Rangers home stadium. So they're going to try and do the bubble after this series because right out of the gate they had a little bit of troubles with the Cardinals and the Marlins. They had a bunch of positive tests, and lo and behold, those 2 made the playoffs. So it'll be
I don't even know how that worked out, but I think they're smart to go to a bubble, especially for baseball, because it's either an everyday or an every other day sport. It's a little different from football. I guess that was the determining factor for the NFL and college, and that's that sort of thing. If a guy tests positive, he might miss 2 games max, I guess. You miss practice and things like that. So again, this is our NBA Finals preview. Again, we started this podcast way back when there was no basketball. Now we got basketball to talk about, and we are 4 wins away from one team from crowning an NBA champion. Let's chat a little bit about how they got there. So Eastern Conference Finals, I believe our last episode a few days ago, Miami was on the verge of closing that one out, and they ended up winning it in 6. And Bam Adebayo, shout out to North Carolina, little Washington High School representing. He had 32, 14, and 5 assists in that closeout game. What are your thoughts on Bam?
Bam, I mean, he's really come on. You have to wonder if Miami ends up winning it all if he's the MVP.
He very well could be.
He very well could be. But I just like what Miami's doing, just being a whole cohesive team environment. They play well with each other. They hustle. They adapt your favorite player Jimmy Butler's mentality.
Yeah, that's a sore subject.
Yeah, but Bam's really come on, and he's pretty gifted. How old is he? I'm not sure exactly.
He spent 1 year at Kentucky, and this is his 3rd year.
Okay.
In the NBA,
Okay.
so he must be 22.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. He was the same class as De'Aaron Fox. They came out together.
Yeah.
Yep. So he's obviously exploded onto the scene this year, being an all-star. Let me ask you this: who's the best center in the Eastern Conference?
Best center in the Eastern Conference. Oh man, I still might have to go with Embiid.
Yeah.
He just, they just got to get the right coach, the right system in there, and I think he can really.
Speaking of right coach,
flourish.
I really hope it's not going to be Mike D'Antoni, because
That's what it's looking like.
Mike D'Antoni said, I heard there's rumors that he's just going to play a face-up game with Embiid, not back to the basket, even though he's the most dominant center in the league back to the basket.
Yeah.
And then they want to get Harden in there, and I'm scared that they're going to trade Simmons. I mean, it just does not. That is not the offense for Mike D'Antoni to run.
Yeah.
We have trouble shooting the three, and he's an offensive-minded 3-point jack-em-up coach. I would love to get Doc Rivers, I think.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see if that happens.
He's on the market now. Yeah, that was. I didn't expect that. I don't know if you did.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
I did not either. That was surprising. But anyway, Miami closed it out in 6. A pretty impressive win. They were able to bounce back. Iguodala had 4 threes off the bench in that game. Tyler Hero remained dominant with 19, 7, and 5 off the bench. He's another Kentucky boy that's exploded. Duncan Robinson, love his story, 5 of 7 from 3 for 17 points, also off the bench. And then Jimmy Butler with 22. A thing that stuck out, I think, in Game 6 for Boston, and kind of something that we've talked about a little bit on the show. So 4 of their 5 starters had over 20 points outside of Daniel Tice, and then that was it. The bench didn't do anything. They had 17 off the bench, and that's it. And that's an issue, and that proved to be kind of their Achilles heel in that series, it looked like. So anything else worth noting on that series for you? It was a pretty competitive one. Obviously, it would have been pretty cool to see that go 7, but...
Yeah, I just think that Boston didn't really have the size to match up with, Bam and whoever else. And, they were... you watch the Sports Center and everything the next day, and they contribute that as, a big deal. They have the right coach, they got superstar players, they just can't seem to get over the hump and reach the finals. But, nobody's saying blow it up.
Sure.
They definitely have the right pieces in place. Maybe they're just missing somebody else. I mean, they've battled through injuries and whatnot with Hayward, but, he didn't play well to begin with. But, they're just smaller. I mean, Kemba and Jaylen Brown. I mean, they're just small, and you're right. They just kind of lack depth. So. Yep.
And even the one thing that we kept saying on this show was the fact that the Goran Dragic matchup with Kemba Walker. If the Celtics want to win that series, Kemba's got to step up and be the man. And Goran averaged over 20 points a game, I think, in that series, and that's an issue, right? You can't have that happen.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was this series or it might have been, but I would flip it on in the fourth quarter, and Miami would be down 10, and the next thing I know, they're up 10. They just had that closeout mentality where I think Boston might be lacking. So
that's right. I think they won that fourth quarter. I think they went into the fourth quarter in Game 6 with a 2-point lead. They ended up winning by 12. So to your point, they did that. Let me read some numbers to you of fourth quarter stats from that series. All 6 games. Jason Tatum, and Tyler Hero. Jason Tatum averaged 38, or not average. He had a total of 38 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 8 turnovers on 36% from the field and a plus minus of negative 19. He's their key piece. He's their leader in terms of numbers. I mean, he's their go-to guy. And he showed that even down the stretch in Game 1 when Bam got that block on him. And there was no other choice. They were going to Tatum there. Tyler Hero in the fourth quarter, keep in mind he's a bench player, had 45 points in the fourth, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, a few turnovers, 55% from the field, and a plus minus of plus 17.
Wow.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah. And like you said, Hero's, a bench player, but, they just had, a whole bunch of other guys. I mean, you could probably look at all the stats down the line and just compare, one for one, how did Jimmy match up against, Jaylen Brown, and I'm sure he, just all the stats were better.
Kind of a similar situation,
yeah. So
that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good
it's pretty
point.
impressive.
So Eastern Conference, Miami representing the East, a little bit of a surprise. Obviously, I don't think anyone in the Miami organization is surprised. And to your point, Jimmy Butler bringing that underdog mentality to them, and they have got a lot of guys on that team who, again, are overlooked. And in a Duncan Robinson and Jimmy Butler, in Dragic, I guess. Maybe Bam was expected to be where he's at, but he, again, exploding onto the scene in the way he has is probably a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah. Now,
so go ahead.
Let me ask you this: Do you think Eric Spoelstra is going to get the credit that he deserves now? Because when he's been there for what's he, like the second longest tenured coach now in the league or something crazy?
He's been there for a while.
He's been there for a while, but of course he had LeBron, Wade, and Bosh for those 2 championships. And 4 straight NBA Finals appearances, and they never really gave him the credit. It's just like I think that happens a lot with whoever is the coach on LeBron James teams.
Absolutely.
But do you think this kind of solidifies his ranking and history, going to his 5th finals? And
that's good.
That's
good. I think it should, and I think you're right. He does not get enough credit. But I mean, to your point, to do it with this team, and to have a difficult trip to get there. I mean, they went through Giannis. They
5 seed,
They went through Boston.
Indiana.
A Pacers team that was hot coming into the bubble, right?
Right.
I mean, they earned their way here. And, I mean, obviously, it goes without saying, if they get it done in the finals, it's a huge deal. And it's a huge thing, even for Spoelstra, historically, you know, where he ranks historically, not just respect around the current league.
Right.
So, I think it's about time, and I think he's well-deserving.
Yeah. And of course, Pat Riley and roster construction, he's always going to get credit for that. So, I mean, again, this just will further solidify his place in NBA history.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So moving on to the Western Conference Finals before we jump in to the preview, but real quickly, LeBron and the Lakers were able to take care of the Nuggets in 5. I think in that series, LeBron and AD just proved to be too much for the Nuggets to handle, no surprise. And closeout game, LeBron showed up in that Game 5 with a triple-double, 38.16 rebound triple-double. Year 17 LeBron, he's not slowing down, no matter what anyone would like to say. AD really, really impressed in that series offensively. So his lowest scoring total was 27. In 5 games. He had 27 twice. He had 37 in Game 1. He had 31 in Game 2, plus that insane game-winning 3. 27 in Game 3, 34 in Game 4, and 27 to close it out. I mean, that dude was scoring. But for a guy of his size, he only had 1 double-double, which surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, that is interesting. And do you know what his rebound totals were for those other games?
He had a few that were kind of close, maybe 8.
Yeah.
I think he had 4 or 5 at least once, which was a little odd. I guess LeBron stole some boards from him in that last game with 16. But still, from an offensive standpoint, the dude was getting it done. even in the clutch, like we said in Game 2. Anything else stick out to you from that series? Obviously, Murray was, I guess he slowed down a little bit and maybe not as much other help that they, could have used. But some of those games were close. I think we noted on our last episode they could have very easily been up 2-1 outside of that AD shot. I mean, outside of that, who knows what could have happened?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could say that flipped the series. I mean, yeah, I mean, not really much else to add here besides you got to give credit to the Nuggets, what they were able to accomplish this year. Murray's superstar in the making. Jokic, he just makes these ridiculous shots that I just have no idea how he does it.
He hit one last year against the Sixers on a game winner, and I was just like, what in the world? They're impressive, so, and I think they, like a Bam Adebayo, they kind of made more of a name for themselves. Maybe not necessarily around the league, maybe because they were known around the league and respected, but from a fan standpoint, they that's a duo that can get it done, and they proved that. So, are you ready to jump in? Finals, Lakers, Miami Heat.
Yeah, before we do, I don't know if you saw, but I was doing some research when I was coming on here. Did you know that back in February, J.R. Smith predicted Lakers Heat NBA Finals? Yeah, he I guess he was just bored on Instagram or something, and people can just ask questions like, "Who do you got in the finals?" or whatever, and he's like, so he responded like, "Call me crazy, but I think it's the Lakers and the Heat."
February.
back in February, so he was a free agent. And before anything got shut down, like
that's good. That's good.
pretty crazy.
I mean, I'm surprised he's even on Lakers. I saw something. He posted like a picture of him with the, finals gear on, Western Conference champion, and someone commented, "You didn't even play," and he was like, "I'm still gonna get a ring, bro," or whatever, which is hilarious. Right. He's funny.
Yeah. And just one other little thought. I guess LeBron was in an interview today, and he admitted that all his trips to the finals, he won when he had the better team, and he lost when his opponent was the better team.
Is that up for debate?
So
I can think of one.
Yeah. I mean I'm sure, but in his mind, I guess to kind of validate his 3-6 record, that he won when he was supposed to, and then
he's always
ridiculous
saying
competition.
Something. He is. I mean, obviously for the most part, I think people would agree with that. Outside of maybe that Dallas Mavericks team.
And with that being said, he kind of alluded to that his team is better than his opponent this year. So he's kind of saying that.
Wow, that's locker room material right there.
Yeah. If history holds true, then that's kind of what he's
that's
thinking.
A good point. Like, why would he even say that or bring that up if he's not alluding to the fact that they got a better team this year? And that's clearly what he's saying. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So look that up after this, and you'll. I'm sure Miami's well aware of what he said.
Oh, absolutely. Jimmy's got those guys ready. And that's the dog in that team. They're going to come out and fight, and we're going to see what happens. But real quickly, just how they got here. We know Miami's trip with a 4-0 sweep against the Pacers. The TJ Warren-led Pacers, pretty impressive. They won in 5 against the Bucks, and of course, like we mentioned, they won in 6 against Boston. And in the exact same amount of games, the Lakers with 3 losses as well, 1 in each series. And they went down in their first series with the Blazers. They went down 1-0 in their second series with the Rockets. And then a 4-1 against the Nuggets to get us where we're at. And I know you're aware of Dion Waiters, who, by the way, started this season on the Miami Heat and is currently on the Los Angeles Lakers, so he will be getting a ring.
Yeah, I read that, like, it's up to the team or something like that, so, like, Miami could choose to or not give him a ring, but I
think I saw that. Someone said Pat Riley ain't going to do it. So we'll see. I
Yeah.
mean, that's fun. I don't think that's the first time that's happened either. I forget. I know there's someone in my head in recent memory
Mm-hmm.
that has happened with, but I forget. It might not have been
I
in the
can't.
finals. Maybe like the final four teams were left, and it was like, if one of these teams gets it,
Yeah.
so and so will get a ring. But it's definitely not the first time. Just a funny
Yeah.
storyline ahead of game one, which is tomorrow night. That's why we're getting this preview in. Coming, what day is it? Tuesday, the 29th. NBA Finals starting Wednesday night at 9 p.m. So, here's what we're going to do, I think, and we're just going to jump in with some keys for each team. Maybe keys for the Lakers, keys for the Miami Heat, and just keys to the series, something that you're looking for, some stuff you're going to be, eyeing as we prepare for game one, and then we'll give some predictions. Sound good?
Sounds great. Yeah.
Yep. So I think starting with LA and the fact that they are supposed to be here, and the fact that if they did not make it here, was going to be a failed season, and they made it here. Kind of a similar situation to the Clippers with the high expectations, and all along, I think everybody, and we talked about it several times on the show, we thought Clippers Lakers Western Conference Finals. There's no doubt, and the Clippers didn't even make it. We see what they did with Doc Rivers getting the boot. And so the very same thing could have happened with the Lakers, but they made it here, and that is significant. I think perhaps the biggest thing that stands out to me in this series, and something we've alluded to, is the Miami kind of do it by committee style of play, and the Lakers who are absolutely relying on LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
Yeah. And they knew that going into the season. They
Mm-hmm.
traded away Ingram. They traded away, who else? Lonzo Ball. Who else was in that trade?
Josh Hart.
Josh Hart, yeah. So they knew they were just loading up to, just get AD, pair him with LeBron, see what happens, put them on their backs.
Mm-hmm.
So to this point, if you had the pick who's had like the better season, would you go with LeBron or AD?
Wow. Uh, I don't know exactly what AD's numbers have been this year. Obviously, he's impressed. I don't know how many games he's played necessarily either, but I do know LeBron. The most impressive thing is that he's led the league in assists. It's a career high in assists, and he's in year 17.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so impressive, and he can still get it done on the defensive end in the way that he's been able to, take the challenge of defending Murray late game down the stretch in a couple of those games in the previous series. I would give the edge to LeBron. Um, and he was upset. He was all upset about not getting as many first place votes as he did, and all of that. I do think that the MVP went to the right person.
I
And
agree.
if people want to debate on that, it is a regular season award, and it's so easy if the MVP gets knocked out early, and then the votings come out. It's so easy to be like, well, he didn't get it done in the playoffs, but that's not what the award is, and that's why there's a Finals MVP. That's why there's all these different things, and I think Giannis deserved it in the historic season that he put up, and the team. The fact that, I mean, they had a better record than the Lakers,
Mm-hmm.
maybe by a few games, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would say LeBron. And then, I think something else for the Lakers is, again, their supporting cast, and obviously, are they going to step up, and what will they need to do? I don't know that the Lakers can solely rely on LeBron and AD as much in this series. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're going to get out of this series in 5 games if they only have one other guy in double
Yeah.
figures.
Right. I mean, do you think just one of the supporting cast, is an X factor, or like, do you have somebody in mind as an X factor, or do you think like we just need one of these guys to step up and that'll be enough?
I
Like,
think that's the way I'm treating it. The latter
yeah,
thing that you said. I think
yeah,
it could be a different guy every game. It could be
yeah,
Rondo going out there and getting a triple double. Like, who he can do that. It
right,
could be Kuzma dropping 20. It could
yeah,
be Caldwell Pope going out and getting 20. I mean, they've got the guys that can
Caruso,
do it. It could be Air Caruso out
right.
there, and he's
So,
he's actually very good. I mean, he's
oh
impressive
yeah,
what he can do. He's a dog out there. I think he's kind of a Heat kind of style player. It seems
yeah,
like the way he gets in
yeah,
there with the minutes that he earns, and then just makes it work. So yeah, I think it could be one guy. just to help LeBron and AD just take a load
Yeah.
off them, because I
So
mean they're literally out there winning games with their third leading scorer averaging maybe 11. It's
yeah,
insane, and
yeah.
it's the opposite thing on the other side.
Right. I mean, is anybody averaging 20 for the Heat in the playoffs,
I
or
think
is it just okay?
Dragic, whatever you want to say, is averaging
Yeah,
just over 20, and he's their leading
yeah.
scorer.
Right. So yeah, it's definitely by committee. But how many are in double figures? You know, probably like 5 or 6. If I
At
had to
least,
guess, yeah,
at least, yeah. I think. Wow, yeah. I mean, I know Tyler Hero is in double figures off the bench.
yeah.
I don't think he scored in single digits yet.
You gotta assume Jimmy is Duncan if he hits 4 threes, which he usually does. He's in double
Yeah.
digits. I mean,
The only one in the starting lineup that I wouldn't be sure of would be Jay Crowder.
yeah, yeah. I've watched a few games where he's just hit some clutch threes
He's
late.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, and
He's good, and they are
yeah,
undersized compared to the Lakers. So he's playing the four, and he's got a bigger role, obviously, in this series with who's on the other side. And then the thing that also sticks out with the Heat, just kind of going back and forth, is they really have gone with a 7-man rotation the last couple of games. So they've gone
yeah.
with those 5 starters, and then Tyler Hero and Andre Iguodala off the bench. And Iguodala again had a big game, and he's going to his 6th finals in a row. Shout out to him. I still think
Six.
I think he mishandled the way that he just didn't want to play with Memphis. I mean,
Yeah.
you got traded. You're in this organization. You're making millions of dollars. Just go play.
Right. Right.
Uh,
And
He,
it's not that Memphis was a bad team either. I mean,
yeah,
they ended up getting ninth in the West, but I mean with him, he could have got them in the playoffs easily, but
who knows? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That
So you
was a
said
little
this
weird
is
how he
his
handled that.
sixth? His
6th
sixth in a row?
I
Man.
think that's what I've been reading. I guess did Golden State make it 5 times in a row? I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah, because they played Toronto and then they played Cleveland 4 in a row.
4, because they went
Yeah.
3-1 against him.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, that would be
6
this would
in a
be
row.
6, and LeBron 9 out of 10.
Uh-huh.
I think it is. So
That's what it is. Yeah, that's pretty significant. I guess, I mean, obviously, whether I like it or not, it's worked out for him and what he's been able to contribute down in Miami. Anything else sticking out or jumping out to you as we look ahead to this series?
I'm just trying to think here. Nothing off the bat. I do think it's gonna be super competitive.
Mm-hmm.
They're because if you think of LeBron, you think of Jimmy Butler. What are their mentalities? I mean, they are just in like all out mode like all the time. So I think they're one of them's gonna will their team to victory.
Yeah.
I mean, just in like spirit and emotions alone. Let alone what they do on the court. Jimmy's got. Okay, so let me think about this before I say it. What do you think? Who has the best supporting cast? Like, would you take Jimmy and his other 6 guys, or would you take LeBron, AD, and maybe one other guy stepping up?
Hmm.
I mean,
I would
obviously LeBron and AD are like what 2 of the best 5 players in the NBA.
easily, yeah.
So yeah, it's do you take
It's,
those
I mean,
two?
I
And
think outside of, let's say you put LeBron, AD, and Jimmy Butler out of the way, and even Bam.
Yeah.
Let's say
Okay,
those 4
yeah.
guys, take him off the scene.
yeah,
Man, that's kind of tough. I think I would lean toward the Heat. It's obviously easier to say Heat because the Lakers aren't relying on their guys as much.
yeah,
And so, but if you put the guys on the Lakers in the same situation that the guys on the Heat are in,
Yeah.
they might put up the same numbers. It's very easy
yeah.
to assume that. But I think I would lean Miami. Just those guys are good, and Jimmy
Yeah.
has said it all year. Like, we've got some good players on this team. I remember I was so mad at Jimmy Butler when he left, and I remember tweeting him or tweeting something saying, you're not even going to make the playoffs next year, while the Sixers are, going to be a top 2-3 seed. And I'm eating those words right now. I miss him. I wish he was coming. I wish he came back. I regret everything. And I actually am happy for him. I was more upset way back then. That's over a year ago now. when all that kind of transpired. But I'm happy to see him. It's obviously been a good situation for him. Who would you take supporting cast wise?
Oh man, I mean you have. Man, this is tough. I kind of like the experience of the Lakers. I mean, Miami has what, Jimmy and Iggy as their main guys with finals, or Jimmy doesn't have finals experience, but
Yeah.
deep playoff run
Mm-hmm.
experience where like you got Rondo. I mean,
Dwight Howard,
Dwight Howard. I mean, I kind of like the Lakers. If we're talking.
JR, I guess if JR even plays.
Oh
I mean,
man, if JR plays and messes up, dribbles the ball out after a missed free throw or something, LeBron might just quit.
he might.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know exactly how much action like him and Waiters have been getting. I mean, they obviously
Yeah.
are sticking more with Caruso
Right.
and Rondo, coming off the bench. And I think even in that, I mean, Rondo, I'm a big fan of Rondo. I really am.
Me
And I
too.
think
Yeah.
I think the way him and LeBron on the court together is dangerous because of that IQ level and the way that both can pass the ball. And yeah, I like Rondo, and I think if he were that guy to step up, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Did
I
did
would not
Rondo
be
go to the
surprised.
Did he go to the Kentucky too? I think we have a
Yes,
lot of Kentucky guys in this. Just
there
shows
is.
what they can produce. All the way back to when Rondo was there to recently when it was like Hero and Bam. It's just like
Yeah,
they just
yeah, you're
keep
right. There's a lot.
churning out talent. So
It's pretty remarkable. And then something else I think to look forward to is again the size advantage that the Lakers have. They're averaging just at 41 points a game in the paint, and that is like almost 8 points more than any other team.
yeah.
So I mean, they've got the size. We know. I mean, even whether it's McGee or Dwight Howard,
Mm-hmm.
one of them usually gets the start. It seems to be McGee lately, and then Dwight off the bench. Or no, I think it's the other way around. I think Dwight gets the start. Um, lately, and then of course they can transition AD to the five very easily. So they've got size, and that's a matchup issue. Bam's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, I mean,
without
is it
saying,
just Bam? I mean, I know they got
I guess Leonard.
yeah. Would you
Um,
throw Olenek in there? Is he playing any?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
he might have to. So
right.
that's one of the guys that's got the minute restriction, lately. Because they've gone with this 7-man rotation with Iggy and Tyler Hero off the bench, and that's it. But look for that to be a possible change. That's a good point. Kelly Olynyk might have to step in.
Nothing. I don't think he. I mean, I don't think he's gonna be an X factor or anything. But I
No,
think yeah, it's just
just a body.
yeah, exactly. Like just absorbing fouls or something, so no one else gets in foul trouble. So
What about on the Heat side of things in particular? How can they? Okay, they're the underdog.
hmm
There's no doubt they've been the underdog the last probably two series. This last one with the Celtics might have been.
Yep.
I don't know exactly what the Vegas predicted or whatever. But they've been an underdog in these playoffs. How can they get this done? Like, what's something that you think has to happen in order for them to
Oh
lift
man.
up the trophy?
I mean, just besides, you know, I'm gonna touch on like just keeping with the underdog mentality. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they think they're supposed to be here, but nobody else really does. And you see the Lakers and the Heat, and people just if you weren't watching the playoffs throughout, you would be like, oh, they got to play the 5 seed Miami Heat. Like that's a fluke. How did they get here? Then you'd be like, oh, that's easy for LeBron. Like he's gonna get his fourth or whatever. But yeah, if you haven't been watching, then
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that's what a lot of people think. But I know you and I have been watching, and just stick with the plan. What they've been doing, because what they've been doing is just amazing. Like
It really is.
yeah, like I'll flip on, and I'm excited to watch their games. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just you don't know who's gonna step up. Like we said, it's always crazy in the fourth quarter. They really bring it on, in that. But I guess you could highlight like just to be boring and something just easy. Their 3-point shooting has to stay consistent. They Robinson and Hero and all those guys have to,
Yeah.
even Crowder shooting them, or Bam or whatever. They just gotta keep that up, because that's been a pretty big part of their game so far. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah, they have to. You're right.
yeah,
If they're gonna, those guys can't go cold from three. Tyler Hero can't come out
yeah,
here and get 2, 3 single-digit performances. He needs
yeah,
to keep doing what he's doing. Duncan again needs to keep hitting. I think that'll be key. I think something I'm looking forward to, and the interesting, weird, whatever you want to call it, with Jimmy Butler is, maybe not just in these playoffs, but even with Philly last year, even in years past. I mean, he has different games that he plays. He'll come out and he'll have 2 shot attempts and a half
mm-hmm.
sometimes. He'll come out and he'll have, 20 points and 10 of 12 shooting sometimes. I mean, you don't know what Jimmy you're going to get always. I tend to lean, if they're going to get it done in this series, he doesn't just have to be that emotional leader, that underdog mentality mindset kind of guy. He needs to be aggressive, I think, in order for them to get it done. Again, he can't come out and there's no reason, let me put it this way, there is no reason that the Lakers, let's say tomorrow night, there's no reason the Lakers can go into halftime up 15 and Jimmy
Mm-hmm.
Butler has 4 shot attempts. Like, that is
Mm-hmm.
that's inexcusable to me if you're Jimmy Butler. So I think he's got to keep putting shots up, and he's a different player in the playoffs. I mean, he did not shoot the ball well by any means in the regular
Oof.
season. I think he was in the 20s, somewhere in the 20s, shooting from three. He's not a three-point shooter. He's a clutch shooter, and he finds ways to get it done. But I think he's got to be aggressive. I really do.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you're right. I think I saw one game. I don't know what series it was. It might have been Milwaukee, like game 2 or 3 or something. He only had like 4 points or something crazy. Like,
Yeah. Yes. It was.
and they still crushed them.
Yes,
Like,
I think it was either the closeout game or the game that they went up 3-1. He had
yeah,
6.
6.
And
Yeah,
by the way, guess who got the post game interview? Jimmy Butler. Like, that's
right.
this team. That's the uniqueness of this team that
Yep.
he's on. But and I could be wrong, but in my opinion,
Yeah.
he might have a game where he's got 12, 13. I don't know, but if they want to win this series and pull this upset, he's got to be aggressive. Something
Yeah.
else that I think is interesting, Jimmy and Andre Iguodala, who in the past have gave LeBron some trouble on the defensive end. That could be
Mm-hmm.
something to look out for. Now he's got to face both of these guys. I don't know if we'll see another blocked by James in this series on Iguodala
Oh.
again. That's going to haunt him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then of course Anthony Davis and Bam. I don't know how often they'll match up. I would assume, I mean, Bam has to be the best one to put on AD from a defensive standpoint. I mean, I don't think you can
Yeah.
leave. I mean, he'll get different matchups and different looks, of course, in a long series.
Right.
But I think they would come out and want to have Crowder on one of those centers,
Mm-hmm.
whoever it is, and then match up Bam and AD. It's Bam's time to shine.
Yeah. Yeah. And funny you mentioned the block and everything. There's been some good blocks in the playoffs so far. You talked about Bam on Tatum, and then like Kawhi, his block with his like middle finger or something.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Was that also on Tatum? Was that in round 2? I forget, but yeah, you.
So Bam's block was on Tatum, game
Yeah.
1, and then Kawhi
Yeah.
got Jamal Murray.
Oh yeah. Kawhi got Murray. Oh yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I was still thinking he's on Toronto. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So he was on Murray. Yeah.
You're
So
right, though. There's been some
the
good blocks.
LeBron Iggy block came up with these talking heads on the sports shows, and they're like these two blocks they rank up there in the top 5 of like playoff blocks all time.
Yeah.
Of course everybody has LeBron on Iggy still number 1, but
Yep.
yeah,
It was good. They were kind of different. They played different roles in the way the series played out. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Bam set the tone in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they went up 1-0. and LeBron closed it out in the finals with that block, obviously leading to
Yeah.
the Kyrie three.
Yeah.
Iconic moment. I mean, I remember watching that
Yeah.
game, dude. That was
Yep.
I'll never
I was
forget
watching
that
it
series.
live. Yep.
Yep. Never forget that. Let me ask you a couple more things, and we'll be done. We're hitting our normal like 40-minute mark. Usually,
All
how we
right.
roll, we get down to business. So, and I asked you this earlier, so you better be prepared. If the Lakers win the NBA Finals, who do you think wins the MVP?
I'm gonna go with Caldwell Pope. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. You never know. I mean, watch that happen.
Yeah, right. 2020.
So it's just Finals MVP, right? So everything that's happened thus far is kind of
Correct. That's
thrown
a
out the
wash.
window.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It's
it's
tough. It's
it
really there is never. I don't think there's ever been a tougher one in
it
recent memory.
is.
Well, I guess with
It,
the Warriors, Steph and all that, but not
yeah.
not on a LeBron-led team. That's for sure.
Yeah. Right. I mean, if you think the Lakers are gonna win it, then LeBron's gonna have a significant role in it. And he'll probably get it. Like,
Okay.
yeah. Um,
So LeBron. Now let me ask you this.
unless AD hits like 2 game-winning shots
Yeah.
or something crazy, like.
Yeah. I mean, and even if so, let's take last series. If AD comes out and just scores almost at a 30-point per game clip, I mean, and then LeBron comes out and drops 23 a game and maybe a near triple double, if not a triple double. I mean, AD could be the very first person. I don't know this stat. He could be the very first person to average 30 in the finals and not win the MVP. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of the Warriors teams did that with Steph. I know he doesn't want a Finals MVP, and people look at that on him in a negative light. So how? Okay, for LeBron's sake and for all the haters out there, if he doesn't get it, what do you think that's going to do? Because people are going to use that against him. You just know it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think they're going to use it against him no matter what. They're going to say this is a shortened season. This is a unique environment, which I think you guys touched on in the one of your earlier podcasts where you were like, is there going to be an asterisk on this? But then we all think that this actually might be tougher than like a normal scenario because of the unique circumstances. Yep. So there's that. It could be, oh well, they played the 5 seed Heat or things like that. I think there's going to be some sort of haters and doubters. Any way you spin it, but the MVP part of it, man, yeah,
that's tough. It really is.
That is. Yeah, I'm just trying to think like. Well, so Iggy won MVP once,
Yeah.
right? With Golden State, so like none of the
that was
big
before
guys,
Durant.
right?
Yeah, it's got to be. And then Durant won two. Durant won two.
And, right. So yeah, like you said, never Steph, never Clay, but you would still argue that they're like the best players, on those teams, and like maybe top 10, top 20 player all time, and you're not going to say that about Iggy. So, he's great in his own right, but, he's still got that Finals MVP under his belt. But I don't think it'll affect LeBron that much. Like you said, there will be some naysayers. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Yep. But regardless, I think he would be happy with being 4-6 instead of 3-7.
3-7 against the 5 seed Miami Heat would not go down very well. I mean, I think for a lot of people, wherever you lie on that GOAT debate or whatever you want to call it, that's gonna hurt, and he needs it. Yeah,
3-7's pretty bad.
Yeah,
and those Cavs teams were not great.
Of course. And the one thing again that I always say about LeBron, and I'm not saying that I think he's the GOAT or anything, not right now, but it's still so impressive to get there. And yeah, 3-7. When you say 3-6, 3-7, whatever, I still think that, again, not only the fact that you get there, but like how impressive that is to do it in 10 seasons. Like, yeah, Jordan was 6-0, but I don't care about the winning percentage in the finals. I care about the total amount. And of course, Jordan still has 3 more,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then with all that being said, uh, well, I want to hear your take on this, actually. So, 2 questions. One, LeBron wins a finals regardless of MVP. Where is he at all time? That would be, again, his 4th ring, 4-6 record, and a win in the Western Conference where they said he can't win over in the West. I think that's the reason he went there. It would be his 3rd team that he's won a championship with. Where would you put him with 4? Is he
Spot.
second right now for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you know me. Grew up in the '90s and watching Jordan, and he was everybody's hero. That was a kid. Age what, 8 to 20 or whatever. That's just like Jordan was basketball. I know you guys watched the documentary and you talked about it on one of your earlier episodes and everything, and I think you did a great job, handling it because the documentary was very biased. I mean, it was just like this is it. There's no other exceptions. This Jordan's the best. These Bulls teams were the best. When he went through his own struggles of he couldn't get through the Pistons and and all that.
Couldn't get out of the first round without Scottie Pippen.
Yeah. So, yeah, right now I would say LeBron is 2. If he gets this one, it's
Is it close?
It'd be 6-4, but all around his stats are just like so much better, and he's done it at a high level for so long.
Yep.
I would almost say it's 1A and 1B.
Okay.
Where you really can't choose between
Okay,
them.
that's
and then,
fair. And then if he gets 5, does that decide it for you? That sounds like it does.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
One more with the Lakers, before we even get this one.
Okay.
I'm saying 6-5, but better overall stats and look at the talent around the league, and just like you said, just to get out of the Western Conference is an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah.
So,
Better overall stats.
Yeah, I mean
outside of scoring, right? I mean, better rebounder.
Oh yeah. I mean, just that. Yeah, his rebounds and his assists are just like. I mean, I think he's at like 27, 8 and 8 or something for his career.
Yeah,
like it's just
remarkable.
like.
And again, year 17, which sometimes people try and count that against him for whatever reason. You should never count someone's longevity in a field against them, and people do. People are like, just in terms of. Again, they count getting to the finals against him. I don't care if he gets to the finals 25 times and he goes 7-18. He still has more rings than Jordan. Like you shouldn't count that longevity and getting to the finals against him, because people act like Michael Jordan played 6 years,
right,
and that he was
perfect,
and
that was it, won it every year,
right. That's not the truth.
Yeah, and you saw what he did with the Wizards, in his late career, and that's just LeBron's just on a whole nother level. Like if he does that at the same age that Jordan did, and he's still putting up big numbers, then we got to talk.
He's still reaching personal milestones.
Right. I mean, Tom Brady gets there 9 times. I haven't heard once somebody discount that. The fact that he's been there so many times. He's 6-3 or whatever, but he just can't beat the NFC East. So it's just like,
they do it to support Jordan in a way, and I'm not anti Michael Jordan, but unlike you, I don't know Jordan that well. At least seeing him, and my Jordan was LeBron, right? And for others, Kobe and things like that. And Kobe's not even in the conversation. Sorry, Lakers fans. He's just not. All right. Last but not least, and it's time. Need a finals prediction. You have it lucky because in 4, 5, 6 episodes ago, I had to predict the whole finals, and I predicted, I think, Clippers over the Bucks.
Yeah.
That did not pan out. So
Yeah.
you get a little cheat code. We always make someone predictive. We have a guest on. So what
Yeah.
are you thinking?
Well, I just want to ask real quick. I mean, we should go back and listen to all the old ones and see which ones you got right.
Yeah, not me.
um,
I picked the Jazz to beat the
I
Nuggets.
mean, I can't say I would either. I mean, nobody did except J.R. Smith. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, I mean, oh man, that Jazz Nuggets series was good too.
Yeah, it
And
was
one more thing on the
phenomenal.
Nuggets, they came down 3-1 twice, so
Correct.
that's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
All right, final. It's going to be 7 games.
Wow. Okay.
Because it's the finals we all deserve.
Yeah.
You know, after this.
We deserve
this
basketball.
Yeah, this crazy year, and I'll be sad to see it wrap up. But
Yeah.
I think it will be LeBron and company.
Okay.
I think the Heat take like a 2-1 lead or something early on,
Wow.
and then the Lakers, you know, maybe rally with 2, make it 3-2, and then the Heat, scrape one out, there and tie it up. But then, LeBron just takes over in Game 7.
Yeah,
So.
I could certainly see that. I could certainly see a 2-1 lead being held, especially considering the Lakers have gone down twice in 2 of their 3 series, and it'll be interesting to see the response that they have, and if Miami can force more than 5 games. Man, Lakers in 7 with LeBron winning the MVP. I guess I got to give one. I get like a 4th chance at this. So I'm going to I think I'll go Lakers in 6.
6? Okay.
I think that's what I'm thinking right now. If Miami comes out and gets game 1, I think that's going to have a different impact than it did on the previous series that the Lakers went down 1-0. I really do. I think that could be the potential, like, okay, this is going 7. But right now, I would say Lakers in 6. I think just LeBron and AD are going to be a little too much. I do think the reason it's 6 and the reason Miami gets a couple is because the supporting cast of the Lakers. I don't foresee Kuzma going out there and dropping 30. I don't foresee Rondo, getting 20, 10, and 6 or whatever. And I think that's going to hurt them a little bit. But I think the Lakers are going to scrape it out. We'll see. I'm sure Manny will be happy. Both of us predicting the Lakers. But yeah, any other thoughts, comments, anything like that?
Like I said, it would just be sad to see it end. With what we said in the beginning, with a nice, how NBA and everybody put it together. The NHL wrapped up last night. The Lightning lifted the cup. They deserved it. They've come up short several years against stiff competition like the Penguins and the Capitals, and they lost one to the Blackhawks back in the day. But I was glad to see that they were deserving. It wasn't total chaos over there.
Okay.
In the NHL, but I mean, when was the last time you had NHL, NBA, MLB, and NFL going on?
Never.
All at the same time. So
that is nuts.
Yeah,
I'm ready for college basketball.
Yeah, we already dropped one pro sport, so we only have maximum 7 games left of that, and then the MLB playoffs, they're playing every day from now until the end. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that should be cool. I'll have to
yeah,
start tuning
but
into that.
But that'll be over soon. So it's just with all the craziness that's been going on, it's been nice to just have something going on every night. So
absolutely.
And during the day. The NBA, I mean, I might have it on at work, when I'm, working from home, because I haven't gone to the office since March 13th.
Oh my goodness. I haven't not gone to the office since March 13th. I'm there every day.
So it's been kind of cool. It was setting up to be the March Madness weekend, and we didn't end up getting that. But
I know we were going to be together for that.
Madness, but we kind of got that with how the NBA was structured and how the MLB and NHL have really worked it out. So
it's been cool. I know we're both happy to have it back, and it'll be even something intriguing
Yeah.
if you want to call it intriguing, for the NBA next season.
Yeah.
Because they're going to start around Christmas time, maybe on Christmas.
Right.
And, I mean, free agency starting, like, the
Yeah.
next day after
Like
the
right
finals.
after.
I don't know exactly, but it's quick.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a wild offseason. We'll see what the Sixers can do in the offseason.
Yeah.
But not
Yep.
enough time in the day to talk about their issues.
Right.
But, yeah, I appreciate you coming on. You're an official baseliner now. We'll definitely
Yep.
have you on
Awesome.
again. And, yeah, I appreciate it. Anything
Yeah.
else for the audience?
One last hot take.
Oh, boy.
Tampa Bay. Lightning already won. The Rays are the 1 seed in the AL.
Okay.
And the Buccaneers have Tom Brady. So
Okay.
do you think all 3 of them can win a chip?
I guess they can.
I mean, we
I'll
already
err
got
on the side
one.
of caution.
I'm kind of cheating, we already got one with the Lightning, but yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing the Rays win it. I don't. No one hates
Yeah.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah. We'll see.
If the Buccaneers win a ring, there will never be a greater football player. He
No.
will go from the greatest football player of all time to the greatest athlete of all time.
I would agree with
Decoration wise, in a major sport.
I would agree with that.
I mean,
Yep.
greatest
Yep.
major sport.
Yeah,
athlete,
with
I
the
think.
with the Bucks, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
At-
just crazy.
At 43 years old, I
Yeah.
think. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my hot
I don't.
take.
I don't.
If it
foresee
comes
them
true,
getting it done. I really don't. But
no, probably not. But if it does come true, I'll look like a genius. If it doesn't, nobody can really
Yeah.
blame me.
Hey, we'll run this back
Yeah.
and we'll post it on Instagram or something with your
Yeah.
clip saying that, and we'll give you all the credit. We'll put the date, stamp it on there like J.R. Smith.
Yeah.
And yeah, Tampa Bay dominating. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap for this special edition NBA Finals preview, episode 19. That's a mouthful of the Baseline FaceTime podcast. We'll be back, maybe a game or two after the finals are underway, and catch us up to speed and probably just correct everything we just said, because it's a whole different series, and this is 2020 after all, and everything's going to be different from what we predicted. So thanks for coming on, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Peace.
All right. See ya.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Baseline FaceTime podcast. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.